Peace, peace.
Hey.
What's up, you guys? It's Ariam
And Yodit.
And you're tuned in to deuxsol Radio.
That's right. Your favorite twins are back talking all things music and culture.
Because two takes are better than one, but twin takes
are even better.
We're super, super thrilled to announce that we have artist and singer-musician Sebastian Mikael in the building. With the recent release of Phileo, the EP that has literally been playing nonstop in both of our houses. He also has a deluxe release of the same EP, which we're really, really excited to learn more about from the artist himself. So Sebastian, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Today.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Show. First of all, you look amazing.
Thank
I
you.
said that when you walked in, but I have to say it on air again.
Yeah, I wanted to look extra spiffy, for you guys.
No, this is such a vibe. It's like your music, and we're just excited to get to know a little bit more about you. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your start, because you're no stranger to the music industry at all. But I wanted to get to know what the beginning of your journey looked like. Okay.
Well, for me, it all started with putting out YouTube videos in Boston when I lived out there. And, me and my friends, we would put out videos, and I would do street performances, just playing guitar, singing, hand out business cards. Like, we were just trying to get somewhere,
So what does the Boston music scene look like? Because we have no clue about that at all.
Well, at the time, it wasn't really a music scene. It was more like college acts. You know what I mean? Okay. So it was a lot of, like when I first started out, it was like doing college shows and high school shows and different things like that.
Okay. So basically that's
just within the college scene. It wasn't a lot of music happening.
Okay. So you started off in the music industry a while back, and there's so much that has evolved since then, since your earlier projects. But there was some time in between, right?
Yeah.
I really want to know what happened in between.
Well, I think later on, like after I started, I ended up getting signed. And when I got signed, they wanted to kind of give me a whole new direction and wanted it to be more commercial, more, I guess, just digestible for the audience, So I ended up doing more like commercial music, and I didn't feel passionate about the stuff that I was making. And it wasn't even me really making it. It was other people writing it for me, people that I really didn't know. It was like the label, hiring people. So it got to a point where I didn't feel passionate about what I was making or what I was like working, doing. And it just got to a point where I just felt like it didn't make sense. Like, why am I gonna keep, if I'm like the driving force and I'm the brain of the music, I'm supposed to be, it's not making any sense that I'm not actually passionate about it. And I started seeing and kind of like how I started drifting off to like more just other things, within the industry, or like started getting more not as focused, what I mean, on the music. For me, I kind of just started focusing more on like fashion and
other outlets,
doing other things, other outlets.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point where I'm like, all right, I really need to create what I love. Like, it was like killing me to see when, artists came out and you can tell like they really love what they were making. And it was like, it was like their art,
It's like palpable. Like you can feel when there's that synergy.
Yeah. You can feel that when it's like, all right, this is definitely authentic to that artist. And I kind of I knew that about myself. Like I knew what I had, but I feel like it was like untapped, So it just took me a while to kind of sit and experiment and just record and figure out, what it is that I love. I kind of already knew, but I think usually like the things that we love is like the hardest thing to do.
To access.
Yeah. You know, and I feel like sometimes we shy away from like the number one thing that we dream of doing. Only because we feel like it's not realistic or it's not going to make sense. But I kind of just like was like, you know what? I don't care if it's like the hardest thing for me to do. Like, this is what I love and this is what I want to make.
Wow, that's powerful. I think a lot of people can relate to that sentiment, especially with life. I think, regardless if you're an artist or, whatever your journey looks like, I think a lot of people, and I think that comes with time, like have to discover like, aligning with their intuition and really accessing what feels right. And so I'm happy that, it sounds like you've accessed it, because the music that you've been putting out, at least the music that we've been discovering, has felt like it makes sense for you, and that you can see that synergy that we were talking about. And so
it feels like,
thank you.
From what we gather, it feels more authentic to you.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a genuine connection. I'm glad that you had that time apart, and I'm glad you listened to yourself, and you acted on it.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was scary because, like, I already started, like, working in the industry and just being an artist. So I kind of had to fall back and really, like, I ended up getting a day job, ended up, finding other ways to support myself during that time. So I feel like it's also a sacrifice, you, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to have to start over again from scratch, but it's worth it if it's what I love.
It's like a rebirth,
Exactly.
And I think, like you said, that payoff was all that matters, because the music that you're making now, that we're going to be talking about later in our chat, to me, that is like the best reward. I think that was, like, to me, a result of taking that step back. And and I'm glad you did that.
Yes.
And I'm glad you did that. Me and Ariam both, we've been following your music for a while. We were blasting I See You, You See Me Part 2. Obviously people loved Time, but Rain was definitely one of my favorite.
Rain, that's one of my favorites too.
And so we were one day just trying to figure out, what your sound, like, if you could define it, would be like, because, we would hear a little bit of D'Angelo, Phileo, neo soul, like that kind of era. But without boxing you in, could you tell the folks how you would personally describe your sound?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not traditional. When it comes to, like, R&B or soul, it's more alternative. Neo soul has always been a big part of my life. I mean, that was like, D'Angelo and the whole Soul Aquarius, crew. Like, that's really what inspired me. That was like my first love, when it came to music. So that was a part of, just like, all right, well, this is the music that I always aspire to make in my own way, and they're like giants to me, you know what I mean? Erica and D'Angelo, Bilal, and all of them. So
I mean, it's such a huge impact.
Yeah, it was like, the Voodoo album itself, like, like I was studying the album, when I was young. So it was, I'm definitely inspired by that whole,
era,
that whole sound. And then also a lot of, old music and funk music, jazz. That's also a big part, of what I do. Rock music too, so it's a lot of different.
I feel the funk coming out of specifically the song Overgold, even the video, the production. So I definitely get that sense.
Word.
Yeah. So you're not just an artist, you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you're a musician, you do all these things, you wear all these hats. What do you enjoy the most about creating music?
I think I enjoy the most. I mean,
can't pick a favorite.
Just being creative, just coming up with ideas. And I think the most rewarding thing is, like, when, when it just comes to you, you just put it down and then you listen back, you're like, oh, like, it's always like the best things come when you don't have anything premeditated. So I feel like, for me, that's like, those are the most special moments. Like, when something just comes, it's like, oh, that had to come from a higher place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's like the best part of it, I think.
Yeah, I always admire learning about people's process, because, like you said, it can come where, you've cultivated the space for creation. Like, I'm going to create today, right?
Yeah.
But I love hearing those stories when things come so naturally, because I feel like music making is such a spiritual experience. Like, it's such a, like, taking whatever comes to you and, like, creating with it and then, like, sharing it with the world. Like, that is so cool to me.
Yeah.
As someone that's not an artist. So
I agree. I feel like, what's in our conscious mind, like, we can control that in a lot of ways, but then our subconscious, we can't really control it. And I mean, it just, when you tap into your subconscious, and then that's what the ideas come from. Like those usually be the best, ideas and stuff. Yeah.
I want to talk to you as someone that we can arguably say that you're in the R&B space. A lot of people have had certain conversations around the genre and where it is today, but what do you think is a misconception about current R&B music?
That R&B is like only one-sided, one-dimensional. And I think that's a problem with labels. I think labels are not acknowledging, maybe they're doing it now, but I feel like for the longest time, like they weren't really acknowledging that there's a lot of subgenres within the genre. Like you have, like you said, neo soul, however you want to classify that, but alternative and just like it's a lot of, like, for example, like if you talk about rock or pop music, or rock, for example, you have heavy metal, you got soft rock, you got so many different subgenres within that one style of music. But I think people like to just put everything that's R&B into one thing. So when they look at me like, oh, you R&B, so okay, we're gonna, and there's no offense to like any other artists, you know what I mean? But like, all right, so you're like a Trey Songz or a Chris Brown or this and this and that, you know what I mean? And I love those artists, but that's not who I am. But it's almost like the knowledge of, what the music is. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's just music. It's good music. You know what I mean? But it's just so like, people always want to box you in like that. So yeah, I think people need to, I think it's happening right now.
I think so too.
I'm like, that's why I like even talking about it now. I'm like, I'm seeing a change. Like,
because I don't think that there is one sound to R&B right now. I feel like there's a little bit of like a crossover between genres now. Like even like growing up, like when you heard R&B, like even in the 90s, there's like a specific sound. There's a specific production, specific way of singing. And that to me, like even now as an older person, like I just feel like that was quintessential R&B to me. But the R&B that is coming out now that is playing on the radio, it doesn't have one like form.
Like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of subgenres, and I think now we're in such an amazing time for music where people are just creating without bounds, right? And so like, you can tap into, like Ariam said, like those different crossover opportunities. But then I think there's a lot that's developing in real time as we speak. Like, there's this whole like movement right now for like drill R&B, so there's just like, there's no real limitations with R&B. I feel like
limitation. And I think I feel like we're seeing a difference now because the people are dictating like where music is going and like how it's going to be perceived. Cause like, I think it's changing right now more because like I think more artists are independent, and there's no shade to labels at all. But I'm also going to be honest. Like the reason why things were very boxed up and categorized like that was because it's just so like corporations and labels can like monetize it and understand it and be like,
package
that's
it.
that and that, But in reality, it's like as artists, like we're so unique and different. There's not nobody's just one dimensional.
Yes.
And unfortunately, a lot of artists had to be one-dimensional because they felt like, oh, that's the only way they're going to put money behind.
Well, I feel like we have outlets now and we have ways of discovering music outside of being a part of a record label, being on the radio. You have like streaming services, you have Spotify and all that, but you also have like TikTok, other social medias that are introducing audiences to new sounds. And I think labels are now having to shift and adjust after all these years of being a certain way. And
we just have a different, creation process and consumption process.
But now they're dictating what labels have to do now.
I think that's really good. Speaking of that too, like I didn't watch the Grammys, but I watched the who won each category and stuff. And I noticed that like Steve Lacy, who I think probably put the best album out last year. It was last year, last year. And someone like Harry Styles, who I haven't listened to his album, but I heard some of the songs, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's pop, but he's clearly inspired by funk music, R&B, and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
But you listen to both those albums, I'm like, yo, Steve's album is just as different and like it's more different in my opinion. But it's like he was able to include soul music, funk, rock, you know what I mean, pop in a dope way. You know what I mean? Like quality pop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, that's so much better. But he won Best Progressive R&B album, and then Harry Styles won Best Album.
What does that mean? Progressive R&B. That category, that is such a good point. When I saw that, I thought to myself, what does that mean?
What does that even mean? It's so ridiculous. And that's what it came from, like, oh, you know, we got to change urban because, you know, they felt like it was offensive, so they changed urban to progressive. That's what happened.
It's giving that. At the same time, like, those categories can place particular limitations on what we're actually processing when it comes to music. So I think the more we, you know, head into the future of music, like, they're going to run out of categories. There's not going to be, you know, that one solid way of defining someone's sound because people are just more and more creative now.
Right.
And
I think the Grammys are failing all the time to really see what is happening musically and stuff. And I think that, unfortunately, but I think it's the truth. If Steve Lacy was a white artist, he probably would have won Best New Album.
Yeah. That's real. I mean, it's an uphill battle.
And I think a lot of people are creating, but they're not creating with the same desire for validation like they once did.
And I think people are just making
making art. They're making the music that they want.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it is. And I feel like we're just part of that era now.
Steve Lacy, like, you can tell, like, that's him. You know, I don't think he went into creating a specific sound or a specific genre. Like you said, I feel like he was a culmination of him, a little bit of everything. And that's kind of like what you're doing too.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just creating, you know what I mean? I get bored though. Like, I get bored doing the same things. So for me, it has to be a variety of different things. That all feels like real and honest for me.
Yeah. Let's get into Phileo.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So there was an intention for titling that, but I want to hear it from you. Why did you decide to name the project Phileo?
Phileo. So I wanted to name it Phileo. I came across the name, and I was like, what does this mean? And came to find out it means love, but it's not the romantic aspect of love, you know, which is like the love that we always talk about. You know what I mean? That's the kind of love we all know. But this was more like a foundational love, like the love you have for your peers, so like your brother, your sister, whatever, you know, like just like a foundational love, like having a lifestyle of love type thing. And during that time, like, I was just always, I think I was searching a lot during that time. It was like the summer, 2 summers ago. Spiritually, you know what I mean? Just like praying a lot and, you know, just going through, I was going through a tough time, basically. But I feel like, you know, whenever we go through like really, really tough times, or when we go through really tough times, I feel like that's when we're probably making the most progress as far as ourselves, like, you know, and I noticed that I was like, yo, I feel like this is happening for a reason, you know? There's something I'm, you know, I feel like I need to kind of like get to another level, you know, not career-wise or anything, just like as a human being, you know? But I just had a lot of thoughts and was just praying a lot and was just kind of like feeling like, you know, there was a lot of confusion and within, you know, religion and, you know, what someone is and what you can do or can't do and a bunch of, you know what I mean, rules. And I feel like it wasn't rooted in love, like a lot of those things. And I'm like, if God is love and God is the core of your religion, but love is not rooted in all those different things, then how can God be in it? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just one of those things. Like, like I'm a Christian, you know, I consider myself to be a Christian, but I was like, what I have been seeing, you know, in church and within religion and stuff like that, it was like turning me off, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just my way of like, all right, we need to just strip everything away. You know what I mean? Like, let's get to the core. You know what I mean? What's the core of everything? And
I actually really love
about.
that. I love that because, you know, traditionally when you hear, you know, music and you're talking about love, right? The word love, it's usually referencing like romantic relationships, right? Like breakups, you know, getting back together or falling in love, falling out. And love can be distributed in all types of dynamics, you know, whether they're friendships, you know, like family. And I like that you took it at this angle, you know, because there's so much to delve into those dynamics as well, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a thing about, you know, okay, this is what the tracks are going to be about. You know, it was more, one track is really just about that, that concept. But for me, it was just more about like, this is what I'm feeling right now. Like, let me just name it that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
Thank you.
So one song I do want to talk to you about that may not fall into that bucket is Scene One.
Scene One, yeah. Yep.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's a vibe. I first heard it on your color set, which was amazing.
Yes,
so I love the lyrics and I love what you're alluding to because I think it perfectly articulates that feeling of when you're into someone, but they're acting up. So could you tell us how this song came to be?
Yeah. Me and my boy Phileo, shout out to Phileo. Amazing songwriter. Me and him work a lot. We came up with that song and, you know, we just talked about how we felt like, you know, a lot of girls be fronting. It was, you know, it was like kind of annoying. And it's just like, just tell me, like, just let me know what it is that you're feeling for real. Like, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? But it was like this whole like, oh, I can't be looking too thirsty, or I can't be looking this, whatever. So, you know, we was just talking about things like that, and that song came about. Yeah.
I love it.
I love the title. I love the theme. And that's
acting.
Yes, like perfect. Like
theatrics for sure.
I think we all have at some point been an actor.
Yeah,
that dynamic
we do.
to protect ourselves.
We all act when we need to. You know what I mean?
I think it's just a way, you know, to protect yourself.
Exactly.
You know, you just never know, especially when you're dating and you haven't found that right person yet. Until you find that right person to hit cut with.
Ooh, I see, Ariam.
You know, I've been there. I think
we all have.
We've all kind of been there before.
Yeah, I think so too. I love the themes. I love how you positioned it in the song. And like Ariam said, we all been there. So I think it's very relatable.
Yeah. And it's a feel-good song. It's like, it just, the feeling too. You know what I mean? It has.
And it's groovy too. Like, you're like, okay, I'm mad, but I'm really feeling this. So I'm just going to like take that ego out for a second and listen to
you can really say whatever you want to say if something feels good.
Yeah.
Like, wait. Like, but you can get away with saying a lot of things.
Yeah,
it feels good. Not to abuse that, you know what I mean? You know,
true.
But another song I actually feel like that for is Overgold. And so when I'm listening to it, like at face value, it's very easygoing. You know, you can just really vibe out to it. You know, drive or you know just have it playing in the background. But as I'm listening to the lyrics, I feel like there's a lot of dynamics you're tapping into, like when it comes to a relationship, being protective over it, you know, this is what I'm gathering, you know, you talk about pressure, you know, wanting to run away and just escape and just be, like I said, protective of this relationship that's so precious. To me, it feels very dichotomous because it's like there's stress, there's concern, there's all of these thoughts running in your mind, but as I'm listening to it, I'm just vibing. You know, I could hang out, I could kick my feet up, but you're saying all these internalized thoughts. But I wanted to hear from you. Like, was that intentional?
Nah, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional, but when by the way, me and my boy Najee wrote that song, and like, you know, when we first made it, it was just like we just had melodies and just certain vibes, you know what I mean? That we was just vibing with it. And usually for me, like I usually have either a concept or like some words or something. It's like I usually go words and then melodies. A lot of the times I don't do well. Sometimes I can also start with melodies and then add words to it. But I like knowing, like I like just having something that I want to say, and then I kind of just find the melodies as I'm writing it. But yeah, for this one we just had the melodies, and and those words just came out, and then it was like, oh, it came together like that. And it's funny because like as we were talking about the subconscious thing, because like you can write something, you don't realize at the moment what you're writing, but then you listen back and you're like, yo, this really like expresses like who I am in such an ill way, because like I'm that type of person. You know what I mean? Like it is pressure, but it's also like, yeah, like I want to kind of escape this world and just have somebody, you know what I mean? Like me and you against the world type shit.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I really like that song. I love the looks. Your hair is a vibe.
Yeah, come on, press.
Even now, like your hair is always perfect, perfectly done.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Was that the first time you blew out your hair like that?
Nah, I've done that a bunch.
Yeah, it's a look. It's a look.
It came from when I used to get my hair braided, and they used to always straighten my hair before they braided.
Oh, okay.
And then before, so when it was straightened, and I used to like see it, and I'm like, wow, that's a
look.
I'm gonna have to
try
this.
Yeah, you got that length.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Out of all the songs in the project, which song do you think resonates with you the most?
The most, probably Sky. Sky, the outro. I think the outro was like what tied everything together.
God is love.
The outro was definitely like, I just had a bunch, just a lot of thoughts and things written down. And then one of my friends, Tubbs, he, I actually know him from like my manager and Brianna. I mean, and Salam, who's here. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Salam.
Shout out to Salam. But yeah, I hit him up, and he was down to do it, and I had this whole thing written down, and he liked it, so he just like went off that. But yeah, I love the outro, love Sky, and then also Overgold. Yeah, that's like my top 3.
You're right. It definitely ties in the theme of this EP. And his voice is so like, it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's like the perfect narrating, he kind of sounds like the Allstate commercial.
Yes.
Love it.
There's nothing like a good voice. It's an instrument.
Yes. Very much. Very much. Shout out to him for, closing out.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So you have this EP out, but you're also having a deluxe version. What can folks expect from that release?
The deluxe thing. We're putting out 2 new songs. 2 remixes to Sky and Security Code.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if I can plug the artist that's on it right now, but I probably can, right? I probably can. Yeah.
So what do we think?
Yeah, I'm just always like, I don't like, but now, so Kirby's on Sky, and then India Shawn is on Security Code.
India, I love India.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's wonderful.
It's wonderful, and so is Kirby.
Yeah,
wow, you got
both
some.
Both of them.
Y'all already know. I'm downloading that immediately.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And
you already just took it up a notch.
And then two new original songs that Flower Child produced.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm really excited. I love both those ladies. Their voices are perfect. Yeah. Obviously, you already have that musical marriage with Kirby for the Time remix.
For sure.
Which is a vibe.
Yeah, Kirby dope.
Yeah.
It's really dope.
And India, whew. Yeah, you
India
got
too. Like, both of them, like,
love it.
Made that happen.
Nice.
Okay.
That's something to look forward to.
Yes. Another thing we have to look forward to is you have a headlining tour coming up.
I do.
Let's talk about it.
All right. Phileo tour. That's I guess what it's called. But yeah. It's it's my first headlining tour.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, new. That's all I can say. It's like a lot of preparation, I want it to be special. Like I really want to give people an experience and like just all the ideas that I always have for like, all right, when I get to fully, headline my own show, like this is how I want it to be. This is what I'm trying to do. Obviously, like everything we can't really make, we can't do right now because it's just the first one. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's just a lot of preparation.
Yeah. Wow. And it's going to be like a new experience, performing these songs that have been, we've been falling in love with and hearing them live. There's nothing like that experience.
I know.
But we know you give a good show.
Like that too. You saw what?
We know you give a good show. I've seen a lot of your performances and they don't disappoint online. But I can only imagine what your live sets would be like. So y'all heard it here. Y'all better go check them out in your designated cities.
SOB's March 15th. That's when we kick it off. So.
And people can find out about the tour on your website. Like, where can they keep up?
They can. So on my Instagram, I have it in my bio. If you go on Spotify, it'll pop up if you follow me. And Ticketmaster. Things like that. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on this upcoming deluxe release and this upcoming tour. Yeah. And that wraps up this chat. Sebastian, I'm so glad you came in to chat with us.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank y'all for having me.
It was really great to get to know you and learn more about your music and just you in general. Yeah. So if you want to plug in where people can keep up with you, like your socials, all that.
Yeah. Whatever social media platform you're on, I go by Sebastian Mikael. And shoot me a follow, hit me up. Whatever you need. If you need me to put you on the list for a show, hit me up.
Okay.
Can't promise anything, but you can always.
You're gonna get a bunch of DMs. Just letting you know that you just opened the floodgates. But yes, again, Sebastian, thank you so much. It's been so real. Yeah. And that wraps up the show, you guys. If you like what you saw, you can keep up with us on our socials at DEUXSOL. That's at deuxsol. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you can hear it, we'll be on it. Until next time, guys.
Peace.
Peace.